All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Drew. I work at Amazon, but I'm not speaking as an Amazonian today. I'm just a guy in the tech scene here in Santa Cruz. I moonlight. I don't have a surfboard company. I'm the chief marketing officer for Meyer Wedding Cakes, which is a local company that my wife runs that delivers confections all over the West Coast to the movie stars. So if you want to talk about the food industry or television, I can talk about that. If you want to talk about AI, that's what I'm here to do today. Who builds anything today? Builds like technology products, uses Amazon Web Services. All right. So I've been at Amazon about 7 years. I joined first with AWS, Amazon Web Services. I was the first product marketer for the storage portfolio there. If you've heard of S3, it's the single largest location for anything on the planet at this point. Billions and billions and billions, trillions of objects and billions of requests per second from all over the world. So I'm telling you that because it's a nexus that we're living through right now, which I'll talk about, that's changing the way everything works. And then a couple of years ago, about 5 years ago, I jumped from the infrastructure side, people building things with our web services, to an actual application that uses a bunch of that tech called Alexa, which is an artificial intelligence that we think is one of the most popular on the planet and widely deployed. And in fact, we just passed some pretty interesting numbers with it. I say that because it's a real life example of an applied application for artificial intelligence, much like David was talking about how to use image manipulation and content manipulation. Alexa is an AI that specializes in voice and voice manipulation. And it does it in multiple languages, multiple countries, and does it almost instantaneously, which is some pretty shocking tech in the background. So I'll talk a little bit less about what you can do with this and more about what it is and what's happening under the covers. There's no quiz. You don't have to know. You'll never talk about this at Thanksgiving with your family, but it's helpful to understand. My favorite analogy is a gold rush. Who got rich in the gold rush?
Toolmakers.
The people that sold the equipment, right? If you were lucky and you found gold, fantastic. More power to you. And I hope some of you all in here find gold. But in the meantime, I'd love if you bought a pick or a shovel, because that keeps some really important things happening going along in the background. So we've all heard about a bunch of terms, lingo. It just kind of puts it in perspective. What David was really highlighting with generative AI, it's kind of the latest evolution and a more precise subsegment of the total AI space. Everybody talks about AI. We all got excited about machine learning a few years ago. Oh, I should back up. I work at Alexa today as a product manager. I lead a team of about 40 people around the world, and we work specifically on Alexa's developer marketing. So like I said, I was a marketer before by trade. Our job is to get the right message to the right people at the right time. So I care about funnels. I care about life cycles. I care about messaging. My team doesn't create the messaging, but we own all the channels that deliver it. So web portals, we build and develop websites, developer.amazon.com. We build and operate a multi-million contact marketing operations database, Marketo. We use a ton of Adobe tooling to build and operate this stuff. And then we do a bunch of custom integration to capture and track the data, because all of this means nothing if you can't tell what's actually going on. So within all that is a bunch of modeling. Give me a huge pile of data. I want to. My people are too expensive. I need them to be thinking, and I need them not to be running through compilation processes, right? That's where we all are. So what that brings us to now is past ML and deep learning into this generative AI space. And that's what's really changing things. So why was I talking about S3 and storage? This is not, shall we say, new. Well, the industry, the world has been at this for 20 plus years. IBM, they used to have a significant brand around this. Nobody talks about Watson anymore for a bunch of other reasons, but the ideas have been there. The magic is what? What's one super important thing for building with AI, which you can't do it without? You can do it on your phone. Compute is the number one thing. And secondly, you got to have data to train these models. So you got to have massive access, or cheap, essentially free access to massive petabytes, zettabytes approaching of capacity data. And then you've got to have a filter or a framework or an intelligence to shove all that data through, process, and create a valuable result. That makes sense. This has never been available before. So when someone runs out and says there's gold and then there are hills, if you don't have a shovel, there's not much you can do. So you run around, pick up the easy scraps. Now we're starting to build excavators. Start, now my analogy breaks down. I don't like filling riverbeds, but you get it. And so why am I here talking about it? Well, we have some experience with this. We're not known as an ML company. When you tell your parents you work for Amazon, they say, oh, when will my package be here? And I say, no, that's not it at all. And we do a lot of other stuff, but we're launching stuff into space. We sent Alexa around the moon a couple of months back for the first time in partnership with NASA. We started our drone delivery service where the drone on its own flies out and drops a package in your backyard on a target. Our warehouses are incredibly highly automated. Go to YouTube just for kicks. Watch the videos that are out there of the robots picking up shelves, driving around, avoiding people, paying attention to their routes and their maps. That's one robot, and there are thousands and thousands of robots throughout both data centers and warehouse facilities throughout the world. And then, of course, the retail website. The retail website is an incredibly powerful search engine on its own, connecting somebody's text command with a picture and a result, right? That's a gigantic compute problem. So we've been doing this for a while, but we also want to make it available for everybody, because the more people that are using this, the more successful we all are, the faster the industry goes. So if you're interested, we think we have some good stuff. I don't care who you use, but it's free. So, and it's pretty good. So jump in. Yeah. If you don't build stuff yourself, get your tech people to go here and do it, because that's what really makes the difference. What's happening in the space right now, like David was saying, it's going fast. Who can tell me who the newest trillion-dollar company is? The news just came out earlier this week.
NVIDIA.
Right. Now, why is that?
Process.
Yeah, but is it because of games?
No, AI. AI.
So they stumbled backwards into an astonishingly powerful use case for silicon. I mean, they're not stupid, Jensen. They're not stupid, but by chasing one industry, going after games, building incredibly sophisticated, focused, high-power processing, they found that it's actually really useful for running a similar application or use case for AI models. So that gives us the first layer of disruption in the whole stack, right? The silicon that people are building is going out and being deployed in data centers all around the world, both in mine as AWS, because we build stuff on top of that. We own and operate a bunch of data centers our own, but other companies who are building their own data centers because they're building a totally vertically integrated stack to build incredibly powerful AI models, all right? So number one, the silicon disruption. Talk about that more in a second. The thing is, you take a big giant pile of unlabeled data that's just stuff. Normally, it's not in a spreadsheet. It's not in an easy to simple to understand where the relationships are not correct. This is the street address. This is the zip code. This is the city. That together is a physical address. Just throw out a huge pile of data, shove it through a model to pre-train it, and teach this thing called a foundational model, an FM. You'll hear us talk about that a lot. Foundational models are the new thing. That's what everybody has. That's what ChatGPT is basically. It's a brand new, giant, highly trained at the, they say 170 trillion parameters as just variables. They don't say exactly what ChatGPT-4 is based on. It doesn't matter. We're all in the trillion parameter space now. I mean, for perspective, what's a trillion parameters? One of the models that we run Alexa on, which gets a lot of traffic, is in the 20 billion parameter space. So there's two things at work here. There's the intelligence of the algorithms that are used to pre-train these models. And then there's the vast capacity. It's a brute force problem. Shove more data through and get smarter. We're beginning to reach the end of that shove more data through time period, which is why in the last 9 months, there's been so much press about this, right? Cheap compute, lots of data, huge foundational models, massive advances in AI. Okay, that's why we're all here, because we all heard about it. And foundational models are good at doing big generalized things. Instead of one particular thing, analyzing my developer funnel, it can go and write copy for David, right? It's a vastly broad generalist model. But there's a couple of problems. Some of them are proprietary. You can't get access unless you pay, which is a perfectly fine business model, but that's what ChatGPT is going after. There are some publicly available models, academics particularly, or genetics, UCSC and the Human Genome Project. They're using some pretty new models. Building your own model from scratch. If you really want to be specialized, say you're Tesla, and I'm making this up, but any particular use case that's highly specialized and very complex, you may find the only way to get there in time is to go do it yourself. That's a big, expensive prospect now. Because these foundational models are so big and so expensive. So there's pros and cons to all of it. Well, what we're doing at Amazon is trying to address, like I said, disruption across the stack. So the first thing is these new chips that we build. I'll talk about those in a little bit. But disruption layer number one, we're building our own silicon. We've been quite successful at it, and we're reducing the cost both in terms of dollars and time, and in terms of energy consumption, as much as 50% in some cases to run the same workloads. Take 50% per chip, multiply that out across the zillions of chips that we are deploying, makes a huge difference that we can then pass on to you guys and drive the industry forward. We've set up some self-service frameworks. We call it Amazon Bedrock, where you can take someone else's LLM, large language model, their big foundation model, or even use one of ours, plug it into the framework. You don't have to touch a computer ever. You just have to tell us which one you want to use, and we manage and take care of all of it for you. So those hassles of becoming an expert in building this go away. And then finally, we're actually building applications on top of all this stuff. Alexa is a good example, but also this thing which you should all use called Amazon Code Whisperer if you have builders in your company. I'll skip that one. Bedrock. Why do you care? You don't have to know any of this. But what's going on, remember, is that democratization. Do you want a square shovel, a round shovel? You want to pick with a hoe on the back or a Pulaski, or what kind of tool do you actually need? You can put it in however you want, or you can go build your own and bring it. So you can get one from a third party. Some of these vendors like Jurassic 2 or Claude, they're specifically good at language translation, for example, or genomics or scientific analysis. So you can find the things that you need and put them in the right place. Again, this matters because your competitors are doing it. Every company on the planet, if they're not doing it yet, is thinking about doing it. And the variety and capabilities of these foundational models is absolutely changing week to week right now. So the Wild West analogy is really appropriate. Nobody knows what's around the corner, and it's moving so fast. Now, is that an opportunity, or should we be scared and run away? Well, it seems like an opportunity at least to pay attention to, because that's how ChatGPT got to market and why it's so interesting right now. Oops. I'm not going to take that meeting. They'll have to get by without it. Lower cost, training cost, savings faster, and pricing performance. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm just, I'm not sure if I missed something, but
Sure.
These foundational models and the way that you use it within your own business, is that, so currently the learning that's on the public domain of what's on the internet. So if I had a company that had a lot of proprietary information, even if it's emails or white papers or on Slack conversations or whatever, is that I would turn that AI onto my proprietary information and then be able to do it.
Broadly speaking, you're exactly right. It's depending on the output that you want. Right? Depending on, it's garbage in, garbage out, no matter what. That rule doesn't change. You just get more of it faster now, right? So be thoughtful, but rather than having to go find the machine learning scientists to go build a model for you and train it, you can buy one of these off the shelf or rent one or or use it off the shelf, push your stuff at it, and then get it trained.
Train
Your specific content. And that's really the heavy arms race. And imagine the drug industry right now. Like, this is absolutely revolutionary for churning through iterations and inferring from progress automatically 24/7 all around the world. This last one, this application layer, not just the chips, not just the model and the application and the frameworks, but actual real stuff. If you have anybody that writes code, we now have a free tool that will go and analyze that code, improve it, and make suggestions as you're writing it. Well, I mean, is it good? Usually. Is it always right? No. Is it faster than sending it down the hallway to the QA team to get it done better? Yeah. Is it really, really super cheap? Yeah. Good versus fast, right? I'm always telling my team, perfect is the enemy of good. I just need to get to market. I don't need to have every bell and whistle. Yes, sir.
What's the latest thinking on? I wanted to generate code for me or analyze my code to do tests, automation, things like that.
Yeah.
I don't want your model to know my code or integrate anything about my proprietary stuff.
Totally.
I don't want to keep my stuff safe and put it in production.
Yeah. I can't answer that question on Code Whisperer because I don't know. But in terms of Bedrock, we are, one of the advantages is exactly that. You can run your model in your VPC, which is your private area of our cloud. So we have no idea what's going on in there. We're simply operating it for you. Whatever zeros and ones are flying around is completely yours. We have no, and we can't even be subpoenaed and provided because we physically can't get to it.
So that gives me the compute and the model in a VPC.
Exactly.
Keep next to my stuff and whatever.
Yeah, and you can run multiples because maybe within your own company, you don't want people to know what's going on. Top secret projects. The government may have some opinions about that. Yeah, we do that for them. Yes.
Maybe a quick question.
Sure.
So regarding what he was talking about, that you can't get to that
Amazon.
but that doesn't mean someone else can't get to it.
Only people that he wants to can get to it. Like, let me put it this way. The one thing that we absolutely worry about all the time at AWS is security. We cannot afford to be hacked. Trust, customer trust is absolutely paramount. And we have had a very, very good track record of that so far. And a lot of governments and private industries are willing to bet on that now. I mean, that's kind of a marketing answer, but the truth is it works pretty dang well. Probably better than anything you can build yourself, which is really the bar here, right? Well, there's they all think it's okay. So then what does this mean in real life? This is where Alexa is now. 500 million dots with the little Echo devices that are sold in all different shapes and sizes. But that's a lot of countertops with a Pringles can talking to you, right? That's we win. Our strategy has been create a footprint. We create the footprint and then open it up to third-party builders. They can then go and monetize that or capture eyeballs or ear canals, whatever your analogy is. But remember, as marketers sitting in this room, if you want to drive your brand and you want to get in front of somebody either on their TV or through their smart home applications or sitting on their counter when they're shopping for groceries or when their kids are eating breakfast, if you're Kellogg's and you create an Alexa skill for Lucky Charms and the kids are going back and forth with Lucky during breakfast, what does that do to your brand list? Pretty powerful brand new way. Your old world used to be web, email, and increasingly it's becoming voice interactions. It's not perfect. We've got a ways to go. We're still working on it. Because who here's had a frustrating experience with Alexa, right? I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's really been successful so far at getting out there. And the number of homes, this is a particularly powerful use case controlling smart home applications. And then the number of times people talk, even though we've all had that experience, people still keep talking to the thing. They find value in it. So what's that look like? Well, today, this is kind of the old school, I don't want to say dumb, I don't mean dumb, because it's pretty dang amazing to talk to this thing and have it respond to you, but still, it doesn't do it the way a human does. We're asking a lot of a computer that's thinking in zeros and ones to respond like a human. But it does okay. You come home in your fancy rig, you open the door, you ask her to open the door, she does the one thing, she's one and done. She stops thinking, she doesn't remember the context, she doesn't carry forward any history, she doesn't understand the intent behind what you're really trying to do, she just does and execute it. That's great. It's not really very valuable over time. So this scenario plays out, and pretty soon it gets just frustrating. Can it be any smarter? You train a large language model to go and think, what patterns are in here? This is all a giant analytics question. What patterns are happening? What do I see unfolding? What can I infer from the past to lead to the future? This is the kind of experience that could start to happen. Now, who cares, right? We're opening and shutting a garage door. This is just one example. And this is very likely to become very real in our, it's soon. But this is the kind of thinking that you can start to extrapolate into your applications with these LLMs that was never before available. In my particular world, when I have developers who are coming to our website who want to know, how do I build something? And the reason that David's got this embedded into Bing is because it's fundamentally upsetting the search model, right? The old days, when you want to search, you put a dumb sentence in, the best construct you could think of, throw it at Google, and Google would do a pretty good job of returning relatively relevant results. Now you can start having a conversation directly with the AI and get it to burrow in, go around the corners, and just like a BB in a funnel, get right to exactly what you want with a simple back and forth. The back and forth is the difference. back and forth is learning contextually, and of course, it's preserved this over time, but it gets much, much smarter. So now I can teach somebody to build through a conversation, either with voice or with chat, instead of search, find the answer, not good enough, or words, wrong answer, make assumptions, go back, search again, iterate, flow.
One of the things that I wish Alexa and other voice things would do is accommodate me truly dialoguing in a polite and courteous way. Like, I'd like to be able to say thank you.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And be required to say thank you.
Oh,
Right?
Oh, yeah.
We move into this, we sort of dehumanize
Yeah.
while we're humanizing. And I think that a big problem that we have with customer service in general is that we lack courtesy.
Yep.
You know, we lack basic courtesy of caring about how other people feel and not just using people and to our advantage without really appreciating what that is.
I agree. The ability for, in this case, this particular AI, to begin to recognize the nuance that we all just take for granted, sound, expression, timing, pace, tone, that's a heavy lift for a thing that has no eyeballs and no ears, right? We're doing the best we can, but it's coming and it will get better. And the ability to like, you know, that it sounds like a person, it's not really faking you out as a person, right? It sounds like it, but that's it. So these are challenges.
Maybe if we're kind to the robots, they'll spare us from it.
You describe all kinds of events. Yeah.
I made a point to ask ChatGPT before if it's why we should be polite or if it's important to be polite to it. And it said it's okay if you're not, but there's several reasons why you should be. And one of those was that when you have polite communication, it's often hear what you're asking for. I recommend that you all ask ChatGPT why you should be polite to it. And there's some very interesting complaints. And also,
Yeah, I other problem is getting the habit to interact with something, not like getting talking to it like it right way. You get into that habit.
Yeah, it translates over.
It's weird how your interactions get used to it. It's your own behavior. That interaction is a weird interaction.
Insert wife joke here. Okay, next. Anyone else? Okay, well, so that's kind of it. So what I want you to understand is we've been doing this for a long time. We see some massive patterns. I think we're living at this moment. The reason why I come down and talk here is this 12-month window is unlike anything I've ever seen. I remember when virtualization came out and VMware was the darling. People were virtualizing and getting more efficiency out of their hardware. Well, that was cool for those of us in the hardware space. But this is changing everything. My mom will understand this impact on her life, which she's pretty smart, but this is not normally her day-to-day, right? So the combination of compute, storage, and these massive models, plus the brute, which opens up the brute force approach of training these multi-hundred trillion variable models, and then people running out of runway with these massive models and saying that I can't, it takes too long, I can't win an arms race if I never get the bomb built. That's the analogy, right? It takes me a year to train a 500 billion or 500 trillion parameter model. It's never going to get there. So we've got to figure out some other efficiency. We've opened one valve in order to come to the next valve. Yeah.
No, you're doing fine. Speaking of, yeah, almost there. But speaking of changes, do you think AI will change sort of the original sin of the internet, which is biased responses due to paid advertising?
Well, we're not doing this for our own good, for free.
Right.
We're trying to figure out new disruptive models for people. All this is driven by selling. This is Drew talking over a beer now, but all this is driven by selling. We want to connect people to the answers that they want in order to go acquire stuff or experiences or skill sets that drive them and their businesses, their families forward. Do I wish we would train these massive guns on problems of feeding the world or social justice or climate change? Yeah. And are some people doing it? Yeah. Is that likely to be lucrative enough to drive Elon Musk to change his whole perspective on the world? I don't know about that yet.
Yeah.
These things will create new pressures that we haven't even thought of. Yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Okay, I think that's enough. Probably too geeky for some of you. If you have any questions, let us know at the end. We're happily go into this one. All right.
Okay, thank you.